Three, two, one.
Welcome to Happy TV's podcast.
Raw, brazen, and comical. This is the ultimate podcast. IOHO, in our humble opinion.
Hey, shut up lah!
Hi, I'm Jonathan. I write for theatre, I write screenplays, I write TV scripts. But before I can get inspired to write, I need to talk, I need to listen, I need to discuss. And what better place to do that than here with these three weirdos?
Hi, I'm Chris Hansen. I train, I host, I sing, I do voiceovers. I'm in the financial services. I'm a dad. My nation, my countrymen, they are important to me, and I would like to have my say.
Hi, I'm Gilbert Chia. I'm a journalist, a marketing specialist, and a social commentator. I'm a Peranakan Singaporean who lived 20 years in the US, which has helped give me a global perspective on issues. My interests include politics, social issues, and health and wellness. Most of all, I am passionate about finding ways to help people in need, especially children. And I'm very opinionated.
I'm Daisy Irani, and I have been involved and a part of theatre and television for as long as I can remember. As an actor, a director, a producer, wearing many hats. And now I have my own theatre company called Hum Theatre. But wait, first and foremost, I am a mother, a mother-in-law, a wife, and a friend.
Hi, everybody at home. Welcome to In Our Humble Opinion, also known as
IOHO.
To start us off today, let's look at our numbers for the COVID from our correspondent, Gilbert.
Okay, all right. So, everyone is in big alarm because yesterday we saw the highest numbers on record, 447 new cases. But it's important to put this in perspective and, you got to look a little bit deeper into the numbers. Very often I find that when people get the numbers, they look at the headlines or they read just the headlines and then they start sharing and panicking, and you have to delve deeper. One thing I'll tell people is this, something which I learned long ago is that statistics are like a bikini. What they reveal is interesting, but what they conceal is fascinating. So always look beyond the obvious.
That was fascinating.
Statement.
Everyone take a moment to visualize.
Yeah, it's like playing things in tricks in my head right now.
Sorry?
Playing tricks in my head right now. I keep thinking bikini. Thanks for that.
Okay,
Gilbert.
back to the topic, all right? We had 447 new cases, but the majority of these, 404, are contained within the migrant worker dormitories. The new local cases in the community have fallen with 38 new cases.
Wow.
And one of the reasons why you're seeing a big spike in the numbers in the foreign worker dormitories is because they've done a lot more testing there. So this leads us to a couple of points, basically, is that it's good that the local transmissions are falling, and hopefully they will continue to fall with this circuit breaker measures. We cannot be complacent because they can easily shoot up. The virus is incubating in unsuspecting cases of people all over the island, perhaps, right? So we have to be very careful. But more importantly, I think we need to look at what has happened with the migrant workers' dormitories, because this is terrible. It would be very easy for us to say, oh, okay, that's not our problem then because it's them versus us. And there are already people online who are making these kinds of comments and also making horrible xenophobic statements like send them all back. And there are cases of condominiums and office buildings that have said, don't send me the foreign workers to do the work anymore. I think that this is ignorant. So it's important for us to look at these numbers and to also look at what is happening. And when we go along in this conversation, I will bring up some interesting schedules and dates about how this situation was not looked into appropriately and properly.
You use the term ignorant. I'd like to change that term. My frankest opinion is wicked.
Mm-hmm.
It is downright wicked. If there's anything that makes my blood boil, are people who behave this way.
Yeah.
Well, I also want to pick you up on what you said exactly is true, is that this issue about the foreign workers, the cramped dormitories, and the way they were treated or the conditions they are living in, has been around for a long time.
Absolutely.
Now this has come and it is biting our government in the butt. That's exactly what's happened. And so after that bite, hey, this is not a good way to take care of the situation. But after being bitten, at least they are moving fast on the job and they are getting it done. So yes,
there's still a lot that needs to be done, and there's still a lot of dormitories where the conditions are very bad. So even though the government is moving forward on this and trying to make sure that there are medical personnel there and all of that, this is not universally the case across the island yet. The migrant worker advocacy groups who are working with the migrant workers are getting reports that in some of the dorms, they're not even able to get Panadol. They're actually being told that if they got the headache and they want to get tested, they have to go and pay for it themselves. Now, to be fair, this is not necessarily something that is at all sanctioned by the government or even legal, but you do not know about how the dormitory owners might be doing this to the workers because they are so easily exploited. And, honestly, if you look at this situation, it's been festering, as Daisy said, for a very long time already. And more things are being brought out now about how badly they have been treated and how little power they have. And I think, as Tommy Cole put in a wonderful Facebook post, that this is a stain upon our society. It's something for us to be ashamed about, and things need to change.
But Gilbert, there's something I'd like to add. When you get this kind of information that that they have to pay for their own testing or they cannot even go out and buy Panadol, that is quite horrific. And so sometimes there's a part of you that just reels in shock that no, this can't be happening in our country. At the same time, you want to take a step back and say, is this one case somewhere that happened? Or is this, again, our social media going into, in fast pace and just magnifying one case? Because if that is the way things are happening, boy, oh boy, we have a long way ahead then to get the situation control.
The picture of it really is that, we all have a little bit of guilt to carry for this, because we've allowed it to be out of sight and out of mind. We know the workers are there. We come across them every day, but it's never crossed our minds where they live, what conditions they live in, how their lives are like.
We don't
bring schools to take trips to visit them, so our children don't learn about it either. So we have allowed ourselves to be cocooned.
I remember those days when, you're driving and then you see this van ahead of you and all of them are absolutely packed behind like sardines in a can. And we are all buckling up and making sure that we are all safe. And those times you have to wonder, what kind of safety do they have?
Correct.
Based on what Jonathan had mentioned just now about kids are not going on a study trip, for example, or an excursion to these dorms. I am for that, but you know how ridiculous some parents can be. They get a consent form for these sort of visits. What do you think they'll say? I can just hear the vitriol that will come out from these people.
Yeah.
As it is. For this home-based learning thing, we've been reading rubbish too anyway, right? We'll talk about that one later on. But, but that's the reason. That's the reason why culturally, we as a nation, I'm kind of ashamed. Coming from a place that was swampland, when construction workers were basically the people of this country.
Yeah.
Right? And we should know better.
I think it's difficult because, we are so ingrained to achieve, right? Our main sort of reason for existing for most of us is to achieve.
It's about the money.
And then it leaves us so little space in our minds and in our hearts, and that's the problem, right? We have to slow down a bit to look around at our friends and, fellow community, right?
Right. So, you see, what happens is, I understand exactly what you're saying, but then originally I have come from India. And I used to, I don't know if that's a correct comparison, but sometimes what you see doesn't hurt you.
Sometimes
Okay.
I mean, I'm talking about me and thinking back and saying, there's poverty all around you.
What you don't see, don't hurt you, you mean?
Yeah, of course it's supposed to bother you. But then it's there. But because it doesn't directly connect to you or affect you, you don't see it. Like the virus now. Because it's directly goddamn affecting you, you better get those dormitories.
This is,
That's
this
the
is
thing,
like,
right?
Yeah.
In
I want to
local
say
speak.
something here.
The reason the government's responding, sorry, Gilbert, you say first.
No, you finish your thought.
Okay.
Yeah.
The reason, clearly the reason the government is responding so quickly and so generously, right, and quite heroically right now, is because it is a practical panic. Right? It's not because they've suddenly developed empathy, their hearts have been opened. It's because the virus will spread if they don't clean up these ghettos, right? We used to think Singapore has no ghettos. Now we suddenly realize, there are ghettos.
Okay,
I
ladies and
think
gentlemen,
that-
that was Jonathan. It wasn't me. It was Jonathan who said
no,
that, okay?
but I think it's very important. There's a very important point I want to make here, okay, which is that it's very easy, as I said, to blame the government for this, but there is a mindset among too many Singaporeans that somehow or other, if they are a domestic worker or they are a foreign worker, they are somehow less deserving of safety, of health, of all of these things, all right?
Yeah.
And this is something which starts with every one of us and those who are out there listening or watching, is that the irony is that people who used to write really derogatory, dismissive things about foreign workers are now suddenly attacking the government for the dorms being in a bad situation. So they're basically trying to score political points against the government or against the authorities or whatever it is by picking up a cause which they had never really cared about very much themselves all along, okay? And I think that on the part of the government, if you actually look at the timeline, which is what I want to talk about a little bit here, is that on February the 10th, all right, and I remember seeing this post on Facebook, so I went back and looked at it. When after a Bangladeshi worker became the first to be infected with the virus, the founder of It's Raining Raincoats, which helps migrants in Singapore, it's a wonderful organization called It's Raining Raincoats, and I encourage everyone to go to their Facebook page and look at it now. It's called It's Raining Raincoats because they do wonderful work and there's a lot you can do if you really want to help these migrant workers to contribute there. Not just money, but anything from food to clothing and many other ways. So he wrote in a post on February the 10th saying that I'm very concerned because this first case is going to lead to a spread among all the others given the cramped conditions in which they live, work, and are transported. So this is February the 10th. He wrote this on a Facebook page that became public, got lots of shares. Nothing was done really, okay? So more than a month later, on March 23rd, another workers group, advocacy group called Transient Workers Count 2 wrote a letter to the Straits Times asking the government to disclose their plan of action, saying currently foreign workers are housed 12 to 20 men per room in double-decker beds. They're transported to work in the back of lorries sitting shoulder to shoulder. Neither of these conditions conforms to social distancing. This risks a new cluster that's going to rise up. We call on the government to announce in advance what plans they have to rehouse the workers. This was on March 23rd. So from the first alert on February the 10th to March 23rd, I don't know what happened.
What's done?
Yeah.
So that's something for us to think about. And again, the government tends to follow the zeitgeist of the society. And if Singaporeans don't show much interest or care about this, the dormitory owners who exploit the workers can get away with anything. The laws are lax. This is the root of the problem.
Yeah, that's the vicious circle, right? If the people don't have their spotlight focused on it, the government thinks they can put it on the shelf. At the same time, if the government doesn't highlight it, we cannot spread the information as widely as we should, because Singapore is such an organized system, right? If we want the children to learn, the whole of MOE must be involved, therefore the government must,
exactly. It's always a top-down approach. That's the thing. It's very top-down.
To inspire her own class. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, but then again, if you think about it, if you're looking at bottom-up, would the average Singaporean actually take a handle on things and initiate something? There are some. Don't get. Like that.
Yes,
It's raining raincoats.
groups.
That's one fine example, right? But how many of us would really take that step forward to do things?
Look,
That's why
I just want to
pamper each other. You see, we wait for the government, and the government waits for us.
No,
It's
look,
a terrible waiting game.
I just want to add something. I'm
Yeah,
listening
Daisy.
to all of you, and I agree, because it's all different perspectives. But I also want to say, I mean, of course, you can't run away from the fact that, yes, these problems about the workers were brought up in advance and they weren't looked at, whether the citizens cared or not, or whether the government cared. But the fact remains that this virus is something that has been so unknown to everybody, to governments across the world, that it's just unprecedented.
Yeah, but Daisy, virus or otherwise, it doesn't matter regardless.
Hold on. Nobody knew how to react to it. Now, for a government that hasn't reacted to the workers over the past couple of years, I think nobody thought, including the government, to wake up that all this is going to happen in 1 month.
Sure, but by February the 10th, we already knew that social distancing was important. And there was already measures among the Singaporean public to be socially distant and all of that. So that knowledge was
how
not
bad.
Nobody thought of it as seriously.
That's how bad it was.
Yeah,
was
because
so
everybody was responding or sort of reacting. Because nobody had heard of this. Nobody.
I think on that note, Daisy, you use that term reacting. I mean, okay, that means you're saying that people should have been more proactive, isn't it? Right?
No, but
and you're right. You're right. But the thing is this. The point here is that even if with or without a virus, where these foreign workers are concerned, right? I mean, come on.
No.
It's about welfare. Whether or not
this virus hadn't come along, we will not learn the lesson.
Sure. Exactly.
Right. We need this kick up the butt, right? As Daisy calls it. We all need this.
They've all been bitten. I mean, the government's been bitten. We've been kicked, and now, hey, we've all.
Let's discuss this. Let's discuss this. If this is the case, will the average Singaporean step up? Now, we've been whinging and whining from condo owners, or what Gilbert has mentioned and all. Let's talk about the people who have made or stepped forward to do something. The kindness. Has it been prevalent since this whole thing started?
Yes,
the advocacy groups
let's
have
talk
been
about
around
that.
for years.
My God, I am shocked. The number of people who are helping, it's very touching. It is.
So let's try and draw another conclusion about how Singaporeans are like, besides being ugly.
So we have lots and lots of people who do the advocacy, at the same time we have all the xenophobic people at the other end, right? So we've always had the spectrum. The question is, when will there be a critical mass where enough of us care to make it a political issue, a major social issue, an election issue, and then suddenly things will start to move, right? But I must ask Gilbert this question, okay? I'm very curious. I need to know. When all the social distancing warnings went out, right, in all the media and all the platforms, did it reach the foreign workers?
Okay, that's $1 million question because they are really very isolated within the dorms, and the information, from what I understand, because I've been reading on the websites and Facebook pages of the advocacy organizations which help migrant workers, is that there was very little information being taught to them about distancing. All the information that we Singaporeans were bombarded with, they were not getting it.
So that's the horrible truth.
Not exactly.
To the government, their idea was, we need to inform everyone, and somehow someone was not invited to the party.
Yes.
Simply that.
Exactly.
Our host forgot someone.
No, and
now we need to
and I'll tell you, even something as simple as language, right? We take it for granted they're all speaking English. That's not true at all.
Yeah.
If you actually go to the Facebook pages of these organizations, like for example, It's Raining Raincoats, they have all of the warnings there in Tamil for
and
these
Bengali,
workers
and Bengali, and Hindi.
And Bengali.
And Hindi.
That's right.
Yes.
And Hindi, exactly, which is so important. And, this again was done on a grassroots level by volunteers, not by the authorities.
Well, we are talking about social distancing. We are talking about, the workers did not know about it. But let me tell you an incident that took place in the morning today. After all and everybody in Singapore being told social distancing, don't get out, wear a mask, blah, 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 blah. So I have a friend, and he's got a 78-year-old father, who is a retired police officer, and he works with the security now. So he gets a call in the morning to say he's had a road accident. It's Dad, what the hell are you doing outside? I mean, had you gone for a walk? No, son, I didn't go for a walk. Where were you? Were you going grocery shopping? No, son, I wasn't going. Then where the hell were you going? I was going for an interview, he said. So the question then came about, what interview? What are you talking about at a time like this when we are supposed to forget social distancing? We aren't supposed to get out of the house. Apparently, the security agency had asked him to come for a personal one-to-one interview. Now, the point is, the 78-year-old retired policeman, he wants that job. He needs the job, or he got them thinking, if these guys can call me for a one-to-one interview, maybe it's allowed. And so off he goes for the interview. And the security agency, which is supposed to be an essential service, I understand, is actually calling him. Now, the virus didn't get him, luckily, fortunately, but another car passing by got him.
I've heard cases of the same thing. My friend being forced to go back to the office and have meetings, even though he says he shouldn't.
No, really?
But the boss insists.
So what?
Whoa!
Those
Wow!
Singaporeans?
Wow!
And
I mean,
I
we're
told
talking
him
about-
report it, but he says he doesn't want to be the whistleblower because then he won't have the job when all this is over.
See, that's the thing. People are so afraid of losing their jobs because they know
At
we're
a
going
time
to
like this,
go
especially.
into a deep economic, we're going to have a crisis of that, of a certain magnitude that we probably never experienced before, right after, post-COVID, right?
Yeah.
People are afraid to lose their jobs, and then bosses are not all, some bosses want to take advantage of that. They're too afraid to lose their jobs now. I mean, that's not right.
No,
I
but
mean, there's some bosses who don't want to go through the trouble of setting up all the home, working from home stuff,
And-
don't want to do the
Yeah,
technology.
but this is how things cascade down. When people get treated like dirt at work, they treat other people like dirt as well. That's how the dynamics will be like. And that's exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
So if I have to look after my own, me and myself, because I'm getting pounded on outside of everything else, my work at work and whatever, why the heck should I be nice to that foreign worker? Why the heck should I be nice to someone that I should be deemed beneath me? Because I am beneath someone else.
Yeah.
But so the question here is that, I mean, the foreign worker, we are talking about being empathetic, being compassionate. And here we are looking at a situation where the Singaporeans are not reaching out or being empathetic or being compassionate to their own first Singaporeans. So we are looking at a situation which is, I don't even know the word for it.
So is there hope for us? Is there hope for us? I mean, we were saying that there are advocacy groups and all that, but have we even heard stories of individuals, Singaporeans who have reached out and done something kind? Have we heard any stories? Have you guys heard?
Yes. There's a lot of that. There is a lot of that. I think it's really important also to not just look at social media as an example of what the big population at large is thinking. That because social media tends to be the noisiest people, and the noisiest people are often the most disgruntled ones. That's why they're noisy. And there are many people who go about their lives and don't complain on social media. So I like to think that, by and large, there are good people, a lot of good people out there who are helping. That's something so that we don't lose hope.
I think
and
this
also
show.
for us to recognize.
and also
for us to recognize a lot needs to be done still, and that we each need to contribute.
Oh, yes. But, but going back to the foreign workers, when you were talking about the languages, so there was an WhatsApp going around asking for help, or those people who could come and translate, for the workers to be able to talk to them.
That's right.
But what was absolutely amazing was that after the WhatsApp was received, even I sent it to a couple of people who speak Bengali and Tamil, and when they got back to the association that was asking for help, they actually turned around and said, thank you so much. The response has been overwhelming, and we've managed to get volunteers for what we were looking for. So what I'm trying to say is the silver lining on that cloud. I think there's a lot going on.
There is kindness, there is empathy, but it hasn't woken up because there isn't knowledge.
Then let it start with us.
Okay.
Let this start with us. Let it start with this show.
I mean, every Facebook post, every Instagram post, let someone else open up.
Yeah,
I
but
think that's the small act, right?
but guys, we
want the
got this
wheels
show.
to start turning as well, right?
But we got this
Because
show
then-
now. We've got this show, so let's do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, we have this platform, so we do it. All right,
No.
there will be those who are gonna go, the typical miserable people when misery needs company every single day. Those kind of people, we don't care, yeah. But we will do what we can to really spread the message out there that individually we
Yeah.
need to see things differently as a, as a people.
So have you come
Individually.
across those people who have received their solidarity fund, right? That we just received over the last few days?
Yeah.
Already turned around and said, there are people who need this more than me.
And they're giving it away,
It too, right?
charity. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's wonderful, right?
I think it's great. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's really, really good. I mean, these are the sort of stories that we have to hear more often, because the amount of vitriol, good grief, we
But-
read.
But Chris, it's exactly like Gilbert was saying, or all of you all know. The people who don't need to trumpet it.
Yeah.
Like even I work closely with the Rotary. Oh, there are so many organizations, or even individuals. I mean, they, at the most, all of us are volunteering in some way or the other. And yes, it's got to go a lot further. But they don't necessarily trumpet it. And that in a way is a good thing, because otherwise we are all going to be swamped with WhatsApp saying, I have volunteered there and I have done this here. And, it's nice to share, but then maybe it's also nice to do this kind of charity in a quiet, humble way.
Sure,
Absolutely.
but here's the problem, right? I mean, right now, if you think about what you've just said, Daisy, and I completely agree with you, right? We don't have to move ourselves to the front row, only to be moved back. We sit in the back to be invited to the front, yeah?
Yeah. Yes,
But the fact
yes.
is that there are people, and this is something that maybe Gilbert could also could give us some insights on. Those newsy videos, on people who are so trigger happy with their phones, and they take shots or videos of that guy that stripped down to his underwear. Clearly, he's not really very well, yeah. And also the stories that come out about that senior person who was arrested at a Guardian, and then whichever outlet that was that put it down that said that he was arrested because he didn't have his mask on, which isn't true.
Yeah.
The guy was causing a commotion there, and he was also arrested for shop theft, right? So at the end of the day, it's these news outlets that give out stuff that sometimes do nothing but stoke fire.
I think that a lot of that actually is being spread through WhatsApp. It's not just. I think the mainstream news outlets are too afraid. They're not going to go out there and spread false.
I'm not talking about
information.
mainstream.
They are. Yeah. Okay, that's important to as a journalist myself. We go to journalism school. We learn about all of these
I
things.
didn't say
What not
mainstream.
to do, all of that. Yeah, but
There's a lot of
there is so much
pulpy
misinformation
pulp
that is
outlets out
deliberately. Sorry.
There are a lot of pulp outlets out there who are desperate to grab any piece of scandal and who want to grab it fast. So they don't
Yes.
investigate,
Yes.
they don't check, they don't call around and ask,
Yes.
they just throw it online
Exactly.
and say, we heard
It's
this from
done-
WhatsApp.
Yeah, it's done at the speed of a click of a mouse,
Correct.
or an iPhone. And I think that there's also a lot of people who are basically they're sensationalists. They just love to spread information, and there's such an inundation of this. I think that I would just appeal to the average normal person out there. When you get something or you read something online, just before you share it, just think about it and do a little bit of research to find out. I found so many people I know who are well educated, affluent, being guilty of this. And I say to them, you should know better than this. They say, oh, is it? I don't know, I share better to share than not share, right? This is rubbish. I mean, that's just absurd, especially in this age when there's so much misinformation. You're actually doing something damaging to society if you
I
actually
always say
spread
this,
that.
You
I
see,
say this
it
to some of my friends, right, who like to share a lot of things. I always say, look, if you have nothing interesting happening in your life to share, shut down your account. Don't just pass shit on.
Correct.
Alright? It shows
Yeah.
that there's nothing interesting about you. Don't reveal the emptiness of your life and your lack of imagination by sharing every piece of shit that floats through your WhatsApp. Okay.
But Jonathan, just exactly the thing is also that because everybody is so empowered nowadays.
Yeah.
you've got that phone, and you've got, an education, and you, like all of you all were saying, you want to be, a hero for that split second. Or, I keep hearing words like, oh, this has gone viral and that has gone viral. And of course, there's this hidden dream of this journalist within every young man who wants everything to go viral. And, nobody thinks of the inaccuracies. Nobody thinks of verifying, because it's that moment of fame. That's it.
But I really don't like these, if including from some of the mainstream side, where you can just have your phone and shoot someone and post it on some of their things. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's the citizen vigilanteism.
Yeah. It's really, really bad. And
The stomp culture, you mean?
Yeah.
Right.
I didn't say that. That wasn't me. That was Jonathan.
The downside of it is that it becomes a bit like wolf, because everybody's a journalist. Everybody's putting on what they think. Reporters
forward to help.
Please don't call them journalists.
There's no journalistic integrity in what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
But one day, when there is something really important, it just gets shrouded in so much nonsense.
No, but the thing is that what is it? You're taking videos, you're taking pictures. You're not stepping forward to just reach out and help if someone's in trouble.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No one does that.
I wrote this before.
Posting things up.
Yeah, I wrote this before when I said that, if you see someone who needs help and you take a photograph of the person and then you post it on social media, that's not activism, that is voyeurism. The key basically is to actually see if you can help first.
Yeah.
And if you have tried and failed, then you post it and ask for help. That's the way it should be. But really, it's just unfortunate. A lot of people rather get the attention of the eyewitness.
I want to ask you all something different, okay? Now, going just a bit, extending on this thought, what is it now that when somebody has an accident or something is happening, you're sitting at the side of the road, you're hurt, you're bleeding, or even cars having an accident or something, and the natural reaction of most people now is to take out their phone and take a picture. What deep down psychologically is what kind of feeling do you get, or a high do you get, or an adrenaline rush do you get by seeing someone else?
Well, it depends on the generation. If you're an older person, you want to take a picture of a car accident because you want to buy 4D numbers. If you're a younger person, you want your post to go viral. If you're stuck in between like the rest of us here,
why to
we
understand?
just wonder about this whole thing.
It took me a while to understand why everybody was taking a picture of the food they were eating.
I do that.
Psychologically speaking, right? There is a fundamental curiosity about death and violence, right? There is in all of us, from childhood. Okay, so to drive past an accident and look is almost instinctive. Everyone will do that.
Agree.
But to go further, right? To want to take photo, to take video,
and post
it, right?
Yes.
That is something that has come about because there's a pressure of social media. All around us, everybody's creating news. Suddenly, I feel that I'm a smaller human being if I'm not also creating news.
Agree.
I must post something in my day, or my day is wasted.
No, brother. Let me tell you something,
That is the
man.
problem. If you lived a full life and had a lot to post, you would not think that the accident you drove past is worthy of sharing.
No, brother. Let me tell you something. I think Gilbert hit the nail on the head. We've just proven for a fact that probably a large percentage of the population in the world, we're all darn voyeurs, okay? I tell you, we all this little peeping toms, we just want to be peeping toms,
To stay and watch the accident is one thing. That's not the same as the 24 or 500 people who all share the video.
There are people who do that. There are people who just stand there and watch, man.
No, but then to add to the video, they put in their own 2 lines, assuming what could have happened.
Memes.
And that's where the damage already starts rolling, because this man is arrested because he didn't wear a mask.
Yeah.
So he could have been entirely different. And the police is saying it's something different. He was trying to be
important when they do that, you see. That little dose of importance of a newsmaker.
Yeah.
That's
So okay, all of this brings up the point also is that are we not glad then that we have something like the Protection Against Online Falsehoods Act, which is very controversial? But the truth is Singapore is not the first country or the only country that's done this. There are a lot of other countries that have enacted this as well. Because the internet is a new medium that, like the virus, we've never had to deal with before. And governments didn't know how to react or how to police it or whether they should even police it at all. But if you actually study this, as a communicator, that's something I study, is that it can do so much damage to lives, to livelihoods, to national security in so many ways that many governments have realized that they need to have some sort of implementation of control about this. So that's a big, big topic. We can't discuss it right here.
But having said that, how many governments can actually execute this, because there is so much of it? And where do you draw the line? The people who posted this video of this man who did or did not wear a mask, or was it the correct reason or not, would that go in under POFMA? Where do you exactly? So it's like
POFMA is a law that the government uses. So
when do they use it usually? Could you share that?
The important thing is that you must pass a certain criteria.
Guys,
the stuff you share.
But they also use it.
News.
Right. But they also use it.
I think we can talk to the producers about this topic and about this particular topic, because this is going to take forever, right? So maybe we can, who knows? Maybe next show we can have a guest, who can talk to us more about this POFMA.
So for
who
example,
knows?
right? For example, nothing that we say in this podcast, right, is truly POFMable unless we declare that it comes from
this
a
really what I'm saying. I'm
source
saying
and our
that this is a
declaration
topic that's
false.
going to be really lengthy. Maybe we can use this topic for the next session. You know what I'm saying? And we can invite someone who's in the know, about this new, relatively new law, right? And maybe have a guest in the show. Who knows, right? Who knows what can happen? That's what I'm saying. I'm not worried about anything. It's all about opinions, of course. Yeah, but it's something that we can really maybe touch on more in the next show.
But I do pick up a gripe that I mentioned before, right? That a lot of times these small little news articles about people arrested and people blah blah blah, they come out, and there's very little follow up. Right? There's a little burst of reportage. This is what we suspect. This is what people say. And then days later, when they probably have time to find out what was really going on, there's no update.
There's no update,
They've moved on to the next exciting.
But you're expecting an update from who? From the mainstream media, or from
the same people who shared the false information?
Of course they won't. Otherwise, they'll all be journalists, man.
No, I'm not talking about the dodgy ones now. I'm talking about the relatively mainstream sites. Who move on to fresh news all the time, right? We rarely follow through. They may think it's a small incident, not worth following through. But every time you tell a story, you lead to a lot of speculation, right?
Yeah,
so
I think for the mainstream sites, they would need to print a correction. That's definitely the case there. My concern really is much more about people who share incorrect information, and then when the right information is revealed, very, very few of them will even bother to correct it.
You know what they'll say? It's not my job.
A much bigger problem.
They'll say it's not my job.
But then the question is, by the time they correct it, actually everybody else has also moved on. You see, that is also a big issue. People just they are on
the impression and false impression has not left. You see,
it's not juicy enough, Gilbert. It's just that it's not juicy enough. That's all. The follow-up's not juicy enough.
But even aside from salacious gossip or anything like that, if you look at what's happened in other countries where there's been racial riots and violence against people because of online falsehoods, so people's lives are in danger because of this as well.
Agree, absolutely agree.
Yeah, I mean, so there have been reports recently, right, of people writing in to editorials and all that, complaining about the foreign workers being responsible for the numbers, blah blah blah, trying to shift blame onto them. That's the ugliest possible response to something like this, right? To let your xenophobic side show, and the people who most need your support and most need your empathy become the enemy so conveniently for you. Right? Because your life is mildly inconvenienced and you cannot hang out with your friends, And I think there is that sense of entitlement in many of us, right? Myself included sometimes. You feel it. The question is, you can feel it, but do you act on it?
On that note, Jonathan, when you said use the term entitlement, let's talk about that thing, yeah?
Your HBL thing.
I tell you, the stuff parents can say, they can complain about, write to the forum about. Can we have?
Wait. I think
style?
I'm clear. You're talking about what?
The home-based
HBL
learning.
is home-based learning.
Yeah,
okay, all right.
home-based learning,
Because for our viewers, they may not know what this is, so we need to.
Okay,
What happened?
sorry. Well, home-based learning, otherwise known as HBL. Thanks very much, Gilbert, for that. Yeah. And you know, the stuff that people are saying, parents are saying, is like, we should have a classroom style kind of thing, which the teachers are telling. Let me tell you about
Okay, take a deep breath.
the complaints that come in. You know, I wish to God I should have pulled out all those things. You know, I cannot. I refuse to commit them to memory because it is just so ridiculous and it's so entitled.
So Chris,
wait, we're not clear. You're talking about basically a lot of parents complaining that they have to do the work of teachers.
Yes.
Now,
Saying
and
that
making demands on the Ministry of Education
Correct.
to provide them with all kinds of things.
Yep.
Like, why can't the teachers do this? Why can't you give us this?
Yep.
And I've seen some of those. I'm not a parent, but I've looked at some of this. Some of the things they talk about would be like, for example, how do I set up the computer equipment? You know, you need
Yes.
No,
to
that's all
send
fine.
IT
But
people.
I've got
They want someone to visit their homes and set it
Yeah.
up for them.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not my job to teach my child. I pay my school fees. Why should I be the one handling all these things? I mean, come on, now, be a darn parent.
No,
you
so
know?
wait, chop. I want to ask you guys, okay, just because I'm listening to this and saying, okay, all these things are coming on social media, people are cribbing. So as a parent, would you put something down there in the social media to tell them stop complaining, stop talking like this? Or is it that one just remains silent and keeps reading this crap that is coming on there?
No. I don't remain silent about that
So
stuff.
what
I
do
do.
you write? And what is the reaction to that?
A lot of people, well, at least those on my Facebook page,
Right.
or my timelines, my Facebook friends, they can't stand it. There's no one that's actually supported any of these things. So
they would write back and tell this group of people who I hope are in the minority that shut the...
Yeah, I know, but the thing is, they write into forum pages in the mainstream media.
The main thing is not just the forum pages. They're actually doing this on the Ministry of Education's Facebook page and website. So there is a split there. You see a whole range of opinions. You see people who are really entitled and asking for insane things, and you see parents who are basically telling them off and all of that. So it's a split there. You know, there is no real consensus there. But the point basically is that it does expose a couple of things. One of the things it exposes is that there are many parents who think this way. And more importantly, just as we talked about how the virus has exposed the crisis in housing of the foreign workers, this has also shown up something which is the underappreciation, I think, of teachers and what an incredibly difficult job they have. Because, you know, when I look at my friends who are parents posting on their Facebook pages, they actually are pulling their hair out. And these women who are complaining, not complaining, but who are sharing, okay, are very successful women. They run companies. They were, top stockbrokers. They run banks. So they are very successful women. But they're saying, I have a newfound respect for what my daughter or my son's teachers have to go through.
Yes.
Because one woman said she would need 20 hours in the day just to go over everything in the curriculum to follow it, basically.
Correct.
And she says, how can this be primary 3 mathematics or primary 4 mathematics? Because I can't do it, Correct. And again, I like to stress that these women are very, very smart women. So there is, I think, a recognition, and an important one, that teaching is really a noble calling and art and a science.
Because, ever since this HBL started, right, home-based learning started, right, the teachers who've been struggling this is new for them too.
Yeah.
Every single one of our educators is new for them, right? And they really work nonstop.
Yes.
Nonstop. They split the classroom of 40 into 2 groups, and it's different subjects. Don't forget. Yeah. They actually work longer hours than they usually do when things are normal back in school physically, right? Yes. So these people are really, really. it's really good. It's really tough on them.
Admirable.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So I think I just want to say this. I just want to say thank you, a very big thank you to all teachers and educators in Singapore. I think
Yes.
you are
They
so underappreciated. It's amazing. And
they are
and all
in-
parents who do this to you, don't worry. There's some of us that's kicking their asses. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, they are as much in the front line as all the medical staff.
Yes.
Because they are the ones who are really keeping this. So many of the children. I mean, it's a very big responsibility, and you are right. And I think all of us should take a second and just clap for them. Should we?
Yep.
Yes,
Yes.
definitely.
Yeah. Think so. Yeah. Yeah. Well, this is where we're going to hand over to Gilbert.
Okay, so thanks a lot for watching. I just want to remind you guys that be safe, but also be kind. There are so many ways that each of us can help, and that by helping each other, we are helping ourselves. The world really only moves forward when we help each other. And as cliche as that sounds, that is the truth. So be safe and be kind.
I will also say, please be vigilant. Again, I think that if you see strange and untrustworthy news coming your way, don't trust it, don't share it, check on it, or just delete it. You don't have to share everything that comes your way. Sometimes we cause more damage in our desire to pass things on. So be very selective, okay? And if you come across things that are xenophobic, things that are ugly, those comments, don't encourage them. If you feel that it's in your nature, argue back. I think that sometimes creating a dialogue is important, but if you don't feel that you want to start a fight, just ignore it. Don't pass it on because it spreads ugliness.
Yep.
Well, I'd just like to end by saying, please don't underestimate the situation. This is war. People are dying. So stop complaining and let's all band together, deal with it, because we will overcome.
I want to say this again. Thank you to all our educators, parents. Please be nice to them, and teachers. Don't think that we don't know. We do know. We know so very well about your sacrifices, and we know what you have got to go through as well. And it isn't easy in the least.
Yeah.
So thank you, really, thank you from all of us who have kids that we worry about in school, and thank you for still looking after them despite the fact that they're not in school.
Yes.
And thank you to all the foreign workers. We may have forgotten about you for many years. We may have kept you out of sight, out of mind. We're sorry for that. But thanks to this unfortunate incident, we are aware of you again. We will do better. You are part of our community.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, you've been watching IO in our humble opinion.
IOHO.
IO. And we will see you again soon. But don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel.
Yes.
You guys stay safe.
Stay safe.
Yeah.
Namaste.
IOHO, in our humble opinion.
Hey, shut up lah!